Hey everyone, it's David here. So California state funds, unclaimed state funds, has updated their contracts. Let's look at those and let's see what that looks like for 2023. And I'm filming this on January 17th, 2023. First of all, before I go there, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for, click the link down below. All right, so I'm going to go over the contracts. I'm going over with you what has worked for me and my staff. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you any legal advice. I invite you to take what I say and get legal advice to make sure that it is correct. I'm just telling you what has worked for me and my staff and many of my participants here. All right. So first of all, this site on the state and the unclaimed property site you should be familiar with. It is for the investigators, especially the Investigator Handbook. And I'll be honest with you, I'm telling you to do this. I've not looked at the 2023 version, but this gives you the handbook and all the rules and regulations. If you're getting people paid and you're calling up and you're saying you're a locator and you're licensed by the state, you need to be familiar with this handbook and know what's in it. And I'm not saying just read the whole thing. I'm just saying get familiar with it. The two agreements I'm going to look at are going to be the Standard Investigators Agreement and the Claim for Abandoned Property. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the estate at the end. So let's jump into this. And I'm going to try to be brief here. It looks very similar to the last agreement. This agreement is entered in by and between your claimant, herein referred to as claimant, and you, hereinafter referred to as investigator. One quick note I'm going to say, and I don't want to get over every little technicality with the contract because I could be talking all day on this, is if you're working with someone who's an heir of the deceased, the heir's name goes right here and your name goes here. Okay, not the deceased, but their name does. I see that mistake all the time. Investigator, through their efforts, has located claimant who may be entitled to the assets in the possession of the state controller of California, and it gives the address. The owner's name, that is whoever the property was reported to, even if they're deceased, their name goes here. The address that was reported to, so say it's 123 Main Street, you put that here with the city, everything in there, the way it was reported. Reported by, say it's Wells Fargo, you put Wells Fargo, type of account, say it's a checking account, amount, you write the amount down. If it's securities, you put in the securities here. Property ID, I used to see this on here 2 or 3 times. Now I only see this on here 1 time, which I like, okay? So this is good, and this is how you fill out the top part. Now, check here if there are attachments listing additional accounts. So additional accounts would be on page 2. Same thing, the owner's name, whoever it is, they're deceased or not, you put their name, their address, reported by, type of account, amount, and then property ID. What I always do is I always put like an arrow pointing with a little asterisk where they need to initial all the way down here for the forms. And if there's only one, now I have had 4 or 5 sheets of these before. However, if there's something like 3 cents, 4 cents, 25 cents, when my claimant gets paid, I let them know that these are out there. Sometimes I'll try to have them submit them in as the claims coming in, but it's just too much work. And I'm not going to fill out. Like I had one that was like 50 claims one time. I'm like, I'm going to just let him fill these out. All right. So let's go down number 2. Investigator and claimant do hereby agree that in consideration of the investigator's efforts in locating claimant and assisting in the actual recovery of the above described assets to which claimant may be entitled, claimant assigns to the investigator a percentage not to exceed 10% of the net assets which claimant in fact recovers. Claimant agrees that the investigator fee will be paid upon payment of the claim. Okay, so this is basically cut and dry that you can't charge over 10%. I'm sure it's been happening. They're very cut and dry on this. I always put an arrow here, agreed percentage. I always do 10% unless it's like this huge amount that I might go lower, but I always start off with 10%. If it's something like, and I work $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 claims all the time. I get checks in $1,400, $1,500, $1,600. You get a couple of those a week. You're really doing nice on your income. So I put an arrow here, agreed percentage 10, and then I put an asterisk and a little arrow where they need to initial, and then I initial right here. Number 3, if investigator fails to disclose the nature and value of the property prior to the execution of this agreement, and investigator and claimant agree that if the existence and whereabouts of the above described assets are known to the claimant, and claimant believes that said assets would have been recovered without the information and advice given by the investigator, then the claimant is under no obligation to the investigator. I'm guessing what's happening there, and this is my hypothesis, is people are filling in the amounts and everything after, and they're not being honest. They're not being honest with the actual agreement. And it's really sad because I still do real estate, and I see a lot of fraud in real estate. I see a lot of people that people trying to rent out properties. The other day I was at a property and they had a big sign up there like, don't allow someone to say they own this and rent it out or something. I mean, you see a lot of fraud out there, and you see it with this. I'm guessing what people do is say it's for 50,000 and the investigator is going to get 10%, which is 5,000. I'm guessing the reason why is because people are not disclosing the actual information that's in here. Be transparent, be honest. So you have a deal for 50,000, that's a $5,000 payout. Someone feels like 10% of that's too much. I would rather get 2,500 than nothing, and I would rather be honest and transparent. And I say 2,500, I'm thinking half of 10%. So I'm thinking 5% would be 2,500, and I would rather get paid something than nothing from the state. And I don't want to have to say, oh yeah, you know what, I kind of screwed you over on the amount, but you still got paid. No, be transparent, be honest, and forthright. And I believe that's what's happening because I've heard things before. Again, I may or may not be correct. Number 4, investigator and claimant agree that in the event claimant is not entitled to the asset above and such assets are not recovered, there is no obligation on either party to the other, all expenses being borne by investigator. That's basically saying that as long as you've been transparent with your client and they don't get the 50,000, they can't come after you. At the same time, if you've paid for notary, FedEx, or whatever out-of-pocket expenses you have as the investigator, you are paying for those expenses. You can't go after your client for that, and you've signed this and have agreed to it. The biggest change is number 5. This agreement is valid for 12 months. It was 6 months before. So this agreement is valid for 12 months from the date signed by the claimant. I got paid not that long ago on a $1,500 check, and it was one that had taken about 7 or 8 months. It was a probate. All this stuff had happened, and it finally got in. And the guy thanked me after. It was he knew about it. He didn't know how about to get it, and we had to jump a number of loopholes, and the state came up with all this last minute information. He was able to provide it, and it took about 8 weeks after. So the actual time from starting the claim to pay out was probably about 8 months, which was ludicrous, but it finally did happen. Claimants, I always put their name, the date, their mailing address, the claimant's email, their phone number, their signature, and I let them put in their tax or social security number. That is a whole hiccup. I could do a whole video on that alone. If they don't want to give it to you, ask them if you send them a self-addressed stamped envelope, if they'll mail it to the state directly. That solves the problem a lot. Or ask them when you get the email from the state, forward it over to them if they'd be willing to disclose it in an email to the state. I've done that as well. And again, I have videos on this, so enough said on that. Investigator, your name, the date, your mailing address, your email, your signature. I don't have to put this last part in. They don't require it. So I leave it blank because they know who I am. So, and again, these are additional claims, almost what they were before. The main difference I see here is claimant's initials used to be in the middle. Now this is over to the side, and I haven't held the contract up like verbatim, side by side, seeing if it matches, but this looks pretty. Owner's name, even if they're deceased, their address, reported by, type of account, amount, property ID, and if it's a securities, the securities in there as well. And that's what you have for that one right there. All right, claim for abandoned property. What I'm seeing different in this one is it's only the second page, and I don't know if the state realized that, but there used to be a box and the date and all that, and you just have to put everything on there. Now I'm just seeing the second page on here. So it's you print their name, and you can just type right in there. It's like, you know, whatever you want to put, and their last name, phone number. It's kind of funny when you type this and it comes in real small, and then the phone number comes out regular. You know, it's just kind of their algorithm, the way they have it. If there's 2 owners and both are signing with you, then you put both owners' information here. Current mailing address to be completed by all investigators. Your name, last name, phone number, street address, all that goes here. Again, this basically says that you cannot charge over 10%. If you read this, I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but they're really big on that fee and what you're allowed to do. Claimant signature, date. If there's 2 claimants, they both sign your signature and the date, then this is where they have the form notarized. This used to have to be on yellow paper. I'm not seeing that anymore. I'm not seeing that in force. So last I heard, and I've had a notary send forms directly to the state, and I've gotten paid on those that have not been in yellow paper. So You don't have to actually have it on yellow paper that I know of. It's worked for me again, but keep in mind, just something I'll verify and I'll do on a future video here. All right. Last thing I want to just cover real quick here is the estate one, which is just pretty cut and dry. This one, again, their name and your name, and then you've located them, the name of the estate, probate number, county of probate, the amount, property ID, the percentage. It says nothing about 10% in here, so but I would still put 10% on this. And then number 3 is you are going to be responsible for all expenses. They're pretty cut and dry on that. Claimant, name, date, the mailing address, their email, their signature, and their social security number, and your information right here. But like I said, pretty cut and dry. So just wanted to give you that update. Very similar. I've had a few people contact me and ask me if I'm aware that they have changed, and I know about it. So just want to say that, hey, I have also completed my ebook. I did the second editing copy of it, and I believe it's good. It covers a lot of state funds. I give about 30 case studies on there on actual checks. I tell how those checks were received. I talk about setting up your business and what needs to be done. If you want to grab my ebook, I'll put the link down below so you can go and grab my ebook. It is now available. Appreciate you. A few of you have asked me about that, and I've given a few out, but you know, and I just grab a few at random. So I'd love for some of you to go ahead and grab that and give me your feedback on that. And like I said, the link's down below. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.